right, we got full house for today.
Agenda for today, there's enough.
Yeah, I don't have multiple copies of the agenda, but I've got more copies of the,
Oh,
agenda.
that's the staff.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't have it.
I wrote her name on it. Not my full name. I think with her pendants. Anyone have mine? Here she looks.
All right, well, so we get full house for today. For our new folks that are here, our community character subcommittee. This subcommittee, or all of our subcommittees right now have been kind of working through putting together our work plan for the next 1 to 2 years. And so we're going to try to get that finished up for today. And then if anyone's here for this afternoon for economic vitality, we'll be kind of doing some similar things, but I won't be here in person, but Sam will be here. And so I do think we've got a lot of new folks, so I'd like to do a round of introductions first before we get started. Again, I'm Jamie Carpenter, Downtown Manager.
Oh, hi, I'm Matthew Hickman, Underground Baking Company, Independent Roasters.
Hi, I'm Linda DePaola, property owner off of 7th and Locust.
Joe Wilmot, co-owner of Ardon 7.
Patsy Dupree at large, member. Michelle Sparks, owner of Art Mob Studios. Caroline Gunther, chair of Downtown Advisory Board, and I own WAG Pet Boutique.
Diane Dean, I'm the president of the Art League.
Kristen Lee, I'm a community volunteer.
Ryan Salveson, I am a property owner over on Israel Street, right behind Hendo, the restaurant,
Brand new board member.
and new board member.
Nancy Nyker, board member at large.
Andrea Eisen, board member, Steve.
I'm Sam Hayes. I'm a planner with the city. I'm also in charge of the Historic Preservation Commission.
And here's Aaron.
Here's Aaron.
We're all introduced.
And there's a spot for you right next to James.
Terry?
Terry Jacobs, city events coordinator.
And who are you?
I introduced myself in the beginning. And we did introductions. This is Aaron Adam.
Aaron from White Dove Taco Shop.
All right, so, again, Sam is, Alex had come to these meetings some in the past. And so Sam is, in her old position, doing historic preservation, and they'll probably, we're thinking probably more on the economic vitality, because that committee's gonna focus a lot more on building conditions, and things like that. But he's also helping me out on the technology for today. So the first thing for this is our minutes from last month, and I have a note to already add that Linda was on virtually. I didn't have her as far as for the attendance. We can take a look through the minutes. I'm sorry, I don't have enough.
Do you record the meetings?
Yes. If anyone would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as noted.
Second. Favor? And if you weren't at the previous one, you're new, you don't have to worry about it for that. Happy second?
Yes.
So, for last month's meeting, as you can see in the minutes, we did a lot of, brainstorming and talking about, kind of, big picture things for the work plan. Oh, I'm sorry. And but the first thing we need to do is thinking about a chair for the subcommittees, because each committee needs a chair, which we haven't been historically very good about doing. And so I would, just like to see if we'd like to talk about that role. before we get going.
Are you looking for someone to step up and volunteer? Are there
I would like to.
a bunch of people that want to do it?
We
Anybody?
had a discussion last week about it a little bit.
And so Patsy had indicated some interest in it. I don't know if anyone else did. If not, then,
And it won't hurt my feelings if somebody else wants to do it by any means, so.
and a lot of it is, yeah, just helping to run the meeting, keep things going on that, and then keeping up with any of the projects that we've got going on.
And report to the board.
Yeah, and to report to the board on the project. So it's not just me.
We should have
And
a
bring it
chair
on.
this year. And then I'm leaving.
Caroline's leaving us,
There's so many people in this room, you know.
there are a lot of people, yeah. Which is good. Okay, the Patsy has indicated interest.
Are there any recommendations? Does anyone here want to recommend a chair or a vice chair?
I think Aaron had volunteered to be chair of economic vitality. That's a different committee. And who did we officially appoint? Last time at our downtown advisory board, because we did the official thing, we're
Yes, so the official members of this committee, and we'll be able to appoint more, is Diane, Nancy, Kristen, Aaron, Michelle, Patsy, Phil, Linda, Matthew.
And then board members can be basically as default, but these are like members at large, or they're not board members, so they're like just community members. So you're good, Ryan, but
Yeah.
like.
And for the next
so
meeting, we need to-
aren't appointed by council to the full board, so we had to officially appoint them to this committee.
And for the next meeting, we need to add Andrea, who is we didn't have her on the list.
So we didn't, okay, we can do that in the next one.
All right, I would offer up for discussion, myself as chair and Patsy as the vice chair.
That's fine with me. I'll make that motion. I'll second. Michelle.
Second, Michelle. Matthew. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Matthew. Matthew's our vice chair of our downtown board, the full board, so that's a nice.
Okay. And all in favor?
Committee. Any opposed? Say that. Cool, Matthew knows how to run a meeting. Good. That's fine. You're.
Does it take effect right now? Immediately?
Yes, it does. Bye.
Congratulations.
Eyes, nays. I don't know people's names. Why don't we have name cards out?
We do, but.
We should have name cards.
We got them for the board, but not the committee members. I can make it for the committee members.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
I can do it for the committee members.
And for guests.
Yeah, I can make more for the committee members. I've got it for board members.
Need to motion and second that, Chair? We already did.
Yeah, we
No, no name
Oh.
tags. Oh, just being silly.
Lyle's joining virtually. Okay, so. So what we had kind of come to discuss at the last meetings between the two subcommittees is making sure that our downtown work plan is falling in line with the UNH comprehensive plan, just because we've gone through a very long time and a very large amount of discussion on that. And that's not the same one. Oh, okay, so I was making sure. I thought it was. And so this is the vision that was in the comprehensive plan for the whole city of Hendersonville. Hendersonville is known as a livable city with a strong community created through commitments to and quality neighborhoods, a strong local economy, sustainable infrastructure, accessible public facilities, context appropriate amenities, and the conservation of historic, cultural, and environmental assets that define its character and and these are the goals that are outlined in the comprehensive plan that got approved by the council, the whole comprehensive plan. And these are specific to So these are all the goals that are in the comprehensive plan, but also include, or is written in the downtown master plan. So these are what is, goal of the master plan as fitting into the downtown master plan. For that, I'm not gonna read through all of them, but it's just to make sure that our goals are aligning with those.
So should we look at those, each one of those as we work through our plan, make sure we're addressing each one of those?
Not necessarily, we should just make sure that what we're working on aligns with that. Yeah, we don't necessarily have to fit in with all of them, but just make sure.
And I understand not every committee would fit into each one, but at least do a checkpoint.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Just make sure we're in line with what's in the comprehensive plan. And this is there's 10 total. Make sure we're not out of line with them. And so when I was getting ready for this meeting, I had gone through our requirements for the Main Street program, which is the model that our program is based off of. And one thing that we have not done in a while is update our downtown programs vision statement, which they call the economic positioning statement. And so that defines the economic role that the downtown plays in the greater economy. It's written in present tense, but 5 years in the future. And so ultimately, this will need to be approved by the overall downtown board. But I kind of took what we had said in the last couple of committee meetings, plus the comprehensive plan, and merged that together in the format that they want it for Main Street. Downtown Hendersonville is celebrated as the place to stop, look around, and enjoy. It is the heart of the cultural and community activities, featuring safe, walkable streets, accessible multimodal connections, and robust infrastructure that supports thriving, authentic local businesses. Get that A out. So without kind of getting into wordsmithing necessarily, if downtown Hendersonville, 5 years in the future is how we're supposed to be looking at that. Is there anything that anybody feels like should be added or removed from what we got as this kind of vision statement?
Well, I'm new, so is this vision statement something that we developed, or is this
Yeah,
We're developing.
yeah.
that we weren't given this as a?
No, this is what I've taken from the last couple of brainstorming meetings that we've had in the comprehensive plan, rather than having the room come up with a couple sentences. I just kind of put some of those together.
I like this one. I noticed conspicuously missing is something about like economic. It's not like downtown isn't gonna be the sales hub of Hendersonville, isn't gonna be the, I don't know, shopping district, really. I like I think it definitely is the heart of cultural and community activities. I think everybody digs that, and it just works well as that space.
So do
It should have something.
I love the first sentence. I think it's conspicuously missing. I don't think so. I think that's correct. But does everybody else agree?
You think,
It's a good point.
should it just be downtown vision positioning statement or is that what you're referring to?
No, I'm saying like, so the statement there, I think the first sentence is like perfect. I think that is exactly what Hendersonville is. And then as you get into the list of what the downtown is, it's not the shopping district. I think that's also correct. I feel like Spartanburg Highway is a better place for that. I think the mall is a better place for that. I think downtown is the heart of cultural and community activities. But does everybody else think that's correct?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The cultural activities is more important than the economic, if you're talking about this team work.
I think sometimes when there's like cultural community activities, some of the businesses, like, some love it, some don't, some do better, some don't. So it's not, I don't think it should be the focus of downtown personally.
But it shouldn't be forgotten.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
What about dining?
That'd be a cultural activity. Could be.
So I agree. There's one thing that's missing there. I would love to see is that word diversity, something about attracting and embracing diversity in our community through what we're doing and our planning. I think that's really, really important. I think especially if you're looking at 5 years out, Hendersonville, downtown Hendersonville it will be, or has an opportunity to be a model for other communities, to really support a diverse, environment. Diversity in business and also diversity in programs and community programs. Also diversity with who's visiting downtown. You know, we're getting a much more wide range of mix of visitors to our city, and I think that's happening for a reason, you know.
Could that be as simple as saying celebrated as a place for all people to stop, something like that? All people to stop, look around.
And what I can do is I can add a note for it.
Do we want to say multicultural?
I think it's more than multicultural.
You could put like one word in there and achieve the goal, like one or two. You could, yeah.
I mean, it could be robust and diverse infrastructure.
Can you also explain what multimodal connection? I keep looking up
Hiking and walking and alternative forms of transportation. And especially with the Coosa Trail coming in, I think that making sure we're talking about, and that's a big focus of it, is a key thing.
When I read this vision statement, I feel like there's a call to action to meander meaningfully.
Correction, what? I didn't hear everything you said.
I said, when I read this vision statement has a call to action to meander meaningfully.
And that kind of fits with what we had up on the board from the other meeting last time. That's what that stop and look around kind of came from. Okay. So,
I've got one.
yeah,
Whenever I describe downtown Hendersonville to visitors, I always use the word historic because I think that's a big part of the character of the city. I don't know if that's covered in the cultural adjective you have there, but it might be worth calling it out explicitly.
yeah.
It's a big part of the city.
I think perhaps if there's a sort of design in words, there might be a line there where the line describing downtown a little bit more, like as far as embracing the historic and also the diversity of the town at the same time. So like we're acknowledging our past and the historic nature of Hendersonville, but also looking towards the future and progressive and diverse and including everybody. Almost like, I wouldn't say ethical statement, but you know.
Two are closely related.
Something about the character of the city, what's really special about the character of the city as far as going forward and looking 5 years from now. You know, what our city looks like. Feels like.
Okay. And that all fits with the Gen H goals too. So what we'll do is, so since these notes are in there, is we'll have the Economic Vitality Committee also look at this, and see if they have anything else to add, and then I can kind of play around with the wording for it as far as how it fits within everything there.
I have one thought.
Yeah.
The word welcoming, because as a relatively newcomer, I find this place to be incredibly welcoming and inclusive.
Any other thoughts on that? Great. It's really helpful. So the next part is the mission of the Downtown Advisory Board and Friends of Downtown. because they're the Friends of Downtown for the new folks is our nonprofit arm, which is what our events run through. And so the revenue that's made from the events can help support some of the things that the city budget can't, like our facade grants and building grant or business historic preservation grants. And so this is just more or less describing what this board and the Friends of Downtown and our department do. We exist to preserve and enhance the vitality of downtown Hendersonville through capital projects, placemaking, and policies to maintain a resilient and vibrant downtown. Kind of same as what we just did before. If there was any other thoughts, particularly, especially probably from the folks who have been on boards or committees before, if there's any other part of what we believe is the mission of this group, as in the subcommittee and the other subcommittees and the board as a whole, to do.
I do have one question, because this downtown, we're referring to Main Street and Seventh Avenue. So you have defines the role that the Main Street organization, I wonder if you have to.
So this is what is that from the instructions from like the National Main Street, which is the name of that title. Yeah, it can get confusing for us, that it's
Well, maybe under the vitality of downtown Hendersonville, you should have
the
Main Street.
the district, yeah.
Because we, we put them together.
Yeah.
And, when you see the word Main Street, people might just think Main Street. So
Well, then if you do that, I think it'd be important to acknowledge that this board and the Friends are
For both.
are embracing and supporting the uniqueness of the two districts that make up downtown Hendersonville.
You could use like an acronym instead, like at the italicized sentence, you're talking about the Main Street organization, the program, not Main Street outside Main Street, right?
Yeah, this is just what the instructions are.
So you could-
It's just basically what the organization.
Oh, that
You
would
could write-
be in there anyway.
Well, you could write MSO, the Main Street organization.
Couldn't
It's like
you-
the program.
Couldn't you just change it to Hendersonville downtown districts? And with the plural, and the districts are the two main streets, the Seventh Avenue and the downtown area?
Or-
Do you have to point out, this is just a mission statement for us. Do we have to point them out separately, or just say Hendersonville's downtown districts?
Oh, yeah, that's what you're saying, instead of specifically saying.
That defines it for people who might not know what the two districts are.
We're gonna keep running into this though. Are we gonna call it Main Street and Seventh forever?
No.
Downtown.
Right.
You're gonna.
It separates it.
Yeah.
Downtown district.
Yeah, what I more or less, when I say, the Main Street District and the Seventh Avenue District are downtown Hendersonville. And so,
For our purpose.
Yeah.
For the board. All right, it's,
You want to be separate? No,
no, I mean, not.
we want to be together.
This statement right here is succinct and to the point. And it doesn't require any embellishment because everything that the board does falls under that statement right there.
This is for the community care.
this is the whole board.
Yeah,
Downtown
but I
advisory
mean,
board.
I'm only thinking that not everybody understands, and we're still trying to get people to embrace that Seventh Avenue is just as important as Main Street was and the Downtown Advisory Board, and that's the only reason why I'm suggesting that people understand that maybe just put Main Street and Seventh Avenue, don't use the word districts.
I mean, I think, Phil, I agree with you, Phil. When I first read this, I was like, nah, it doesn't need anything, leave it the way it is, but maybe not for the purposes of this, maybe not necessarily point out Main Street and Seventh, but something about how downtown is continuing to develop and this board, a big part of what that board does is look at Main Street projects or Main Street activity and Seventh Avenue activity and supporting the uniqueness of those districts. And I think that is a big part of what the board does, and it has been doing and will continue to do. So maybe it doesn't have to be as wordy as that. Maybe we can just add one or two words in there that kind of like say like there's there's a different look and feel within downtown, and Seventh Avenue and Main Street are downtown. I think the more we talk about them as instead of separate, as far as, you know, being together and being downtown Hendersonville, the better.
What I can look at is, so I can take that and see if there's any words to make that, because if, especially with the comprehensive plan, it's possible there's either another district or expansion of districts or combination of districts. There could
correct,
be
yeah.
some things that could come from that.
That's what I was thinking too, is
South Trailhead,
be a trail district.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
That's why just making the word districts, Henderson and
Yeah.
now districts
yeah,
incorporates everybody that we add onto us and right now the both districts that we have.
yeah, and I'll work on the wording. Okay. It's succinct, I'm a big fan of succinct. Okay. So getting into more specific on the economic development strategy, so how the Main Street, the work plan model is, basically, we take our vision statement and then we create these goals or strategies from there. And so and that should guide the work of the committees. And so what I was trying to think of it was what this committee has talked about last week, and that kind of stop and look around as far as the visual placemaking type of environment. And then for the economic vitality committee, focusing more on how businesses can thrive. And that would have to do with their buildings and property, among other things. And so how I would see it is that this is more or less the mission or the vision for this committee. And then this would more or less be the mission or vision of the other committee. And so like what the, like if something is fits in, and these words can change, but if something is a project that we want to do is encouraging people to stop and look around or stop and enjoy or experience the place, that would fall under this committee. Because that kind of falls in line with what we've been talking about here.
Jamie, what about downtown as being the destination for locals and visitors? To me, when I read stop, it sounds like somebody passing through, going somewhere else. And I would think that we really want Hendersonville to be the focal point of where they plan to go in the first place and stay.
Well, what you're saying is absolutely key, because one of the big shifts that, you know, running a retail business for almost 15 years in this town that we've seen is that Hendersonville has become much more of a destination. And that's what's drawing people here, and especially from an economic standpoint, that's what's drawing people here to spend money. You know, I'll make this analogy all the time, like, you know, Charleston, for example. If you go down to Charleston for the weekend, you're planning on spending money. That's part of that experience. Going on there, you might be staying downtown, restaurants. So we're seeing more of that. So having Hendersonville on the map, so to speak, which it has become, and it will continue to become more of a destination where you're not just getting people passing through or coming up for the day and just, you know, walking around. They're actually investing financially in downtown and primarily in goods and services and lodging, all that good stuff. But I think that's very important to note in there, you know.
So instead of the word place, you should put the word destination right in that first statement.
Yeah, I think so, or something, we can kind of take this and then do some wordsmithing on it. 'Cause so what we're saying then, as far as this committee, would also be that kind of the marketing side of things and like working with tourism side of things, seems like that would be best fitting under this committee as well. Is that what it feels?
Maybe you should change it to stay and play instead of stop and enjoy.
Well, there's an element that's always gonna be in Hendersonville that like we're super close to Asheville. And I feel like everybody wants us to be distinctive from that. You don't want a tourist to just like buy a hotel in Hendersonville and then go vacation in Asheville. If you contrast us with like Canton It's like almost the same distance away. But we're distinctively different feel from like that city in terms of like tourism and destination and like we'll house both of the workforce of Asheville and they'll commute and like that's something that's always gonna be there, but in terms of our tourism, we're definitely more distinctive and more.
But we're distinctive, but we're also creating that draw.
Yeah,
That's between what we're doing with infrastructure and community, all these projects, Gen H, and also the nature of the goods and services that are here now. That's what's one of the biggest shifts that we've seen is that everything that we're doing right now is drawing people to Hendersonville and giving them a great experience, whether it's just they're enjoying the city for a day and walking around and they're spending dollars.
It's stay and play, not stay.
Yeah, they're not gonna stay here and then go to necessarily drive to Asheville for dinner, you know, if we have quality options for them in our town, which we do.
I still don't think we want the focus of this to be on just visitors. We want downtown to be the place for locals to wanna also play, not necessarily stay, play and shop and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want the place to grow, not just in tourism.
Right.
So it's got to, if you're gonna have vitality, it's got to grow also in people residing here, whether
Which
it's
it's
seasonal
doing.
or full-time.
We don't want 6 months worth of visitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And we-
Which is what it's been.
And more or less for the locals to feel like a tourist in their own city type of thing, where they feel like they can experience.
When you think about some of the cities that have gone down, it's because they kept doing the same old, same old. What's different about Hendersonville? We're always looking for what we can improve on, what we can do better, what the people want. I think that's very unique.
Yeah, it's a growth, we're looking forward for growth and opportunities.
Just think about what she did with the speakers at the Terry
Garden Jubilee.
Garden Jubilee. I mean, just think about what she did. She kept looking for better things with the Christmas thing. She kept looking for more things that were gonna improve, and I think that's the thinking of everybody here.
I think, as a recent person, I used to run to Asheville to go out to eat and go do things. I can't remember the last time I went there. So I think that we really developed our unique personality.
But there'll be some people and don't want to see the word grow for people moving here. I mean, constantly, I meet people who come and I joke that you guys are more than welcome, but don't tell everybody.
Yeah.
Just understood.
Well, sorry, Jamie,
Okay.
a big part of that, as well, like drawing people in and not just tourism, is drawing people to the area that are like, maybe not necessarily look like buying houses in downtown Hendersonville, but they're buying homes in Fletcher and in Arden and in South Asheville. And at that point, geographically speaking, if downtown Hendersonville is offering up a quality experience for folks, they might come south instead of going north. And I think that's gonna be a big part of our growth.
Should you change it to a place for locals and visitors to stop and enjoy? Maybe that's the way to define it. Because locals could be Arden, Fletcher, Asheville, Greenville, Spartanburg, whatever.
So I'm kind of keeping these as my notes for it, but I think we are pretty clear on like this committee, the focus then is things that keep people lingering, people, visual photo opportunities, marketing, and like the outdoor and visual experience.
But it's for everyone.
Yeah.
I still think the word stop implies that they're only stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that.
Get rid of stop.
That's why I said stay and play. Stop and enjoy. You talk about visual, right now, all these downtown empty buildings have all these flyers on them for events and stuff, and the city has some too. I don't know about anybody else, but sometimes when I drop by those buildings, one of the things that's not visually appealing is really old stickers, old flyers. It's not visually appealing anyway, but to help it make more enjoyable, we maybe practice when you're going by one, tear down those.
Yeah, let's not do that.
I've been doing it because
Yeah.
they're like, what? This was back in January.
Yeah. Yeah, committee job, if you see them, just rip them off. So then as we kind of go into it, we've got the goals, objectives, actions, and tasks. And so what I wanna, so this is kind of going through the steps on the building our work plan. The goals are what we're trying to achieve with that strategy of that, whatever, however I'm saying stop and look around, don't get tied up on the stop, but we know what I'm saying when I'm saying that. And then, what we want to have as far that, and the objective would be, what we'd see as a result of it. And the actions and tasks will be how we get there. So going on to the next slide, this committee is, let's stop and look around. I've got goals that are kind of pulled from the Gen H plan for this committee. So now we're into just this specific committee is enhance, create, and promote placemaking opportunities in downtown Hendersonville. And when I say placemaking, like public art, murals, even down to like the seating and you know, any other type of amenities where people can, you know, stop and enjoy. And then the second part is expanding the promotion and marketing of downtown and connections. And because a lot of what we talked about in the last couple of weeks is we've got a lot of things, but people don't necessarily know about it. And so some of these things may or may not be stuff that specifically this committee does, but they're just identifying what, if there's other partners or organizations like TDA or the arts organizations that are doing some of those things, just making sure that we've got an awareness, because we don't want to duplicate any kind of activities. So out of all the things that we've been talking about, do those seem like appropriate for, because now we're on this committee, of any specifics of anything different that you feel like this committee should be doing?
Is placemaking the best word for that?
We're still talking about Friends of Downtown or?
This committee now, yeah. I'd pull that from the comp plan. Do you have any specific thoughts on something else for it? Maybe more specific on art, or what do you think?
Community character.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you have any?
aren't isn't this the economic subcommittee?
This is community character.
This is?
No, what we're talking about on just that particular goal.
Oh.
Yeah, this will be the community, this will be this committee.
All right, that was.
So placemaking is the right, you think placemaking is the right word for?
Do you need to define it? I mean,
I still thought.
If we know what it
It's a
is.
good word, but I didn't know what it was before this meeting.
I think
Kind of buzz
I think there's gotta be a better way to.
A lot of the things that we talk about too are events.
Yeah,
I don't see anything about that in here.
so what my thought is, because we have our events committee, but they do a lot more of kind of, once we have an event, then they kind of help figure out how to make it happen. And so I do think between, probably more so in this committee than the other, or probably actually in both of them, is the event, any kind of event concepts that come out of there within, concepts come here and then go to the events committee.
so placemaking says the process of creating quality places that people want to live, work, play, and learn. Here's a good one too, the intentional use of public spaces to strengthen community connections, promote people's health. So it's a good word. Happiness and well-being, but it's not as good as intentional use of public spaces to promote happiness and well-being for the community and people. It would make a longer goal, but it would add.
Again,
This one was intentional use of public spaces to strengthen community connections. And then you could promote whatever you want to promote. This one says health, happiness, and well-being, but.
I like that, strengthen community connections.
Thank you, artificial intelligence.
You didn't say, hey, the placemaking kind of sounds like an AI word. It's a good word, but
like a what word?
like an AI word.
Or creating quality places where people want to live, work, and play.
Yeah, that's good too.
Shop and eat.
So we're just,
So we're talking about this
we're
specific committee.
basically just defining placemaking.
Yeah,
So I think if these goals are for our use, then we all understand what placemaking means. I mean, if you want to say placemaking and strengthening community connections, but I think placemaking,
Character versus.
yeah, but I mean, if we all understand what placemaking means, I think it kind of says in one word
Right,
a lot of what we're doing. So
I agree.
keep it in there.
But again, this is not just for the current group, it's for a longer term.
We'll read them the definition when they change it.
You can make up your own definition.
Isn't this a longer term project or
this is for the next 1 to 2 years.
how many?
1 to 2.
Oh, well, in that case, don't worry.
Is there, okay,
Can we go back to what we were talking about, you know, the events? I understand the events team takes care of the logistics. But when you're talking about, expand promotions and marketing of downtown and connections, that seems like if there's an event taking place, something, if we would help enhance the promotions.
yeah, that's why I've got that in here.
Okay.
Okay. So placemaking, enhance, create, and promote, which I would further define as a public art, outdoor environment, and then expanding promotion, marketing of downtown and connections would be the experience. Also would be placemaking, but it would be as far as what the events that are created for it.
What does "and connections" mean?
Like business meetings, they do the.
Actually, I think I have, it's a good question. I think I had, so possibly areas that are outside of downtown, like the acoustic trail, like physical connections between in and out of.
So like, like the Art Place Play Studio.
How it would have to be something that would more or less tie into downtown
Art.
one way or the other.
So it could be a Saturday Clay Day exhibit that's downtown
Yeah,
from an outside of downtown source.
the connections being physical and cultural. Can't spell whenever I'm typing up here. So on to the next one. I've got this kind of split up, so just for this example, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't documenting some of the other committee stuff, so I've got them both side by side. But what we would need to have is like what we want to complete in the next 1 to 2 years to get us to, you know, that goal of enhancing, creating, promoting placement opportunities. And so this would be where we want to talk about like what do we actually want to, by the end of the next 1 or 2 years, what do we want to have accomplished from this committee at that time? And so like some examples of things that we have gotten done in this committee is we reworked our facade grant program, like we completed that in that time. And we did the 7th Avenue branding we completed, that was a goal of this committee. And, the avenue signs, which are coming soon, they would just the autumn. So anyway, that's kind of an example of some of the things that have started or worked through from this committee and completed. And so kind of going back to some of the things that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, or months, and this committee has been, that public art and murals have been a big part of what we've talked about, and also on that event side.
There's a couple of things, like, for instance, we should have, speaking of public art, like a selfie art, but whether it's under the apple tree, because apples or, you always see wings or bees, because we're a bee city. So some kind of places like that where maybe you can have Hendo or Hendersonville written in it to promote stopping. And the other one was, what I noticed, a lot of people come with their grandparents and there's always, people are looking for a place to sit outside and watch people go by, like at Mass General Store, they sit in the rock chairs. I know we have some public seating out there, but should more be like on the south side of town, especially now that we're gonna be a big stop for cyclists, and I know we're gonna have places to park their bikes, but more public seating areas, because they gather there and they're all talking and the kids are running around.
So this type of thing, what I was gonna say that, we're talking about the next 1 to 2 years, Akusta is happening.
Talk about it.
And there's been more and more talk about that. So anything like this committee's work, if there's any projects that we can work on that are feasible within that time frame that tie in or piggyback off of Akusta, I think that would be a really good idea. So whether that's a tie-in or, some type of, we talked about the extension thing. I don't know if that's 1 to 2 years. That might be longer than that. But if there's anything else that we can use to kind of like, to try to, kind of work that in, like, even if it's additional seating that's situated to where people utilizing the trail can stop and rest.
What about on the southern
Watch people.
end of town? On the trail, there'll be some water station / pump your bike tires. Maybe we should have one of those closer to the start of, because isn't the visitor center supposed to be like the beginning of the southern end, so.
And I think communication regarding the Akusta trails important and would help with community character, because we have so much talk going on and some of it is so negative and some of it is so positive. Let's get some truths out there.
Why don't we have the president of the Akusta Trail group come and talk to this committee about the activities that will be happening in the southern area so that we can find out what they're about and how we can support them.
And something else for the southern area, since the Acoustic Connection is there, is some kind of cool kiosk with what's going on in Hendersonville, what festivals are coming up.
I mean, we have, through Steve, we have a series of podcasts about public art, and we're creating a walking tour, 5-minute pieces about the artists, et cetera. That would be something.
Yeah.
That could be visual and audio.
And that can be advertised on a kind of kiosk too, but if we could have some permanent structure where you guys would probably have to do it, update it with, Apple Festival,
I
or
think that might be something.
there's the bear auction, or check out our bears, or look for our apples, or, things that promote people wanting to wander on Main Street and 7th Avenue.
We also have grants for 2 more murals, so anything to help us find the walls, that would be great.
And that, kind of bringing that back into is, one thing that we keep running into, particularly this committee, is the public art and what this committee's role is in public art has been, something that that's probably should be a pretty big priority of defining, especially in, public art on private property is one thing that we, like the grants or whatever, could help to support as far as the murals that are downtown, like we did with the old lab space. But something that we've never really been able to get fully figured out is public art and public space. And defining that, because we, a couple years ago, we've had people who, approached on projects in public space, and then whatever happens with the fountain, it's probably something that this committee will be looking at. And then also on the streetscape plan, all of the planters that are like the round brick planters are spaces that were designed to be able to put some type of public art in those spaces. So that's something that we probably need to, it seems like it kind of continues to come back with that.
I think this committee should be, with its components now, should be in a position to establish a formal curation
Yes.
process. There has got to be some oversight to public art selection. We don't want the same thing to happen that, did in the past. So there has to be, a process for selection of professional curation advisement in that process. And Steve being a part of that, but not the whole and entirety of it, because there's other interests
Yeah,
in the community.
it would be more of a collaborative between several entities.
Artscape banner program, we're just getting ready to ramp up the definition of what it will be for next year. 7th Avenue, could it be incorporated into the Augusta Trail as a way to tie? We moved into Jackson Park, so we now have Jackson Park and downtown. We haven't even talked about what poles will be available on 7th Avenue, and we'll need to know, really, the call for artists goes out in October. So we'll need to know how many banners we can hang this year. And we also have a couple of grants that we've identified that we could use to expand the program. So I don't know how close, or if there's going to be devices along the Augusta Trail that could have
You have some
banners.
The Visitors Bureau band stage,
Mhm.
the back wall on, what is that, Allen's? Next to, between, that's a wall that would be a great wall to paint.
I think where we've got, I agree, but I think where we've got to start with is how
What are we gonna do?
we're endorsing things or how we're deciding things. I think that's where because we get stuff that comes to us and we're like, well, it's on private property and
Well, actually,
Whatever.
Visitors Bureau, the reason I mentioned that, that's another one that could be between the Visitors Bureau and the city, a mural that promotes Hendersonville.
yeah.
Not necessarily a public art that's,
And in terms of execution, of what you guys are talking about, there's kind of two things you could do. You could either do an active, I want to paint this on my wall and I'm gonna come in and we'll approve it. It'll be like an approval process or something.
like Jana did.
Or you could do something passive where we just make a guide and you say, these are the rules, do something that fits that.
Yeah, and then kind of a bigger of where identifying locations or changes to things like the fountain.
And Erin, your thing about rules, the only thing we'd also wanna, but before you actually do it, you have to present what you're gonna do. And then you have to do what is approved, because we had that problem in the past where someone didn't.
I think there could be an opportunity here. Again, you're talking about the 1 to 2 year thing, but that specific projects or as specific as possible. Again, talking about piggybacking or really kind of working with the energy, the Augusta Trail, 7th Avenue. So there's a huge opportunity to work with Steve to do perhaps a mural project on 7th Avenue that ties in with the branding that is 7th Avenue specific, that really reinforces what we've done on 7th Avenue. Something that incorporates all this design work that was done as of right now, we've utilized it, but we have a sign at the top and that's about it.
There's gotta be a place to put it though. Isn't that?
So
I would just, I'm just throwing it out there that, our building has a large brick wall. It is unpainted. So, again, that whole thing about painting brick, but that, I mean, as far as the gateway coming down Seventh Avenue from the top, there is, on the side of our building, there's a lot of space there that would be something that could be district-specific artwork. That's what I would be encouraging.
Have to tie into what our grants are,
Yeah.
more for diversity and hospitality.
Mhm.
But I think that's something we could definitely address.
I mean, not necessarily blatantly Seventh Avenue district with
Right.
everything, but definitely something that is, that ties in with the work that is finishing up on Seventh
And
Avenue.
there's also, not to take away from Steve, but there are other artists that would be interested in,
And other grants.
or in
Yeah.
submitting an idea.
But something that would tie in with the branding and that would tie in with the, just the changes that are coming to that district, and something that's very, very, very,
Can it-
good exposure.
You go back. a
Oh,
second.
yeah.
Well, just real quick, a grant facade like we did for Jana might be what would be possible for the site. of
So,
Riverville.
it's interesting because I've been thinking about that a lot and I'm not, I don't hesitate on that decision, but I do kind of, I've been scratching my head more about that as far as the facade grant program and, paying for murals with it. Again, I think we made the right call at the time, but I think going forward, I think that, it is a mural, it's an artistic mural. It's like, it adds to the character of district. But did it add anything to, again, you go back to what are the motivations of the facade grant program? So, I think just put that out there that I do have some doubt about that. So as far as if we have other resources, art resources and funding resources or community partner that we can work with like Steve, I think that would be, and you're here. You're here, you know what I mean?
I'm also on the sponsors of art, but that's another,
Okay.
thing. Sorry, you were gonna say
That's all
something.
right. I was going to kind of close this off. I think, given a 12 to 24 month time frame, right? You've got three major areas that can be addressed in that time frame with some kind of active development, right? Augusta, yes. Public art, yes. Seventh Avenue itself is getting ready to reopen someday. And there's thus far zero conversation about what do we do next? All right, so we know the Fairmont is X number of years down the road before it has an impact. But this time frame is shorter than that. So there needs to be, some things there to try and get Seventh from where it will be on New Year's, essentially.
Yeah.
For a 2-year span, perhaps, during which we're not getting that perceived boost from a new hotel. We're on our own and we gotta come up with a plan.
Can there be a street closing, grand opening festival or?
That's what this committee would need to be a,
Absolutely.
A block party is definitely in the works.
yeah. And
Sure.
Oh, it's a block party.
But as a committee, I think this needs to be discussed.
I mean, when I'm talking about my building specifically, the reason why I'm even bringing that up, because first of all, the visibility, it's a large space. You could do something pretty large on that building. And I think to have that being a tie-in with streetscape would be awesome, so if you want, that's just my first idea.
Best spot would be the Ultra Scallion building, since it's not being used for anything.
Which building?
Gigantic, the Ultra Scallion building.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
so.
Yeah, but
so-
the Mission owns it. They probably would only want Mission's paintings.
And we've got,
I might want diversity on there.
Yeah, that might be a good one, Steve.
so we've got a good group here. And a large group here. And so. I think, splitting it into these 3 buckets within this committee. Even though they probably will have some crossover for it, but so that way. Cause we don't wanna over infuse ourselves with ideas that we can't necessarily get done. Or I can't. And so it seems like we've got people in the room for the most part, maybe some other people as far as for the public art. So as a goal, maybe in the next 1 to 2 year, or maybe in the next year, is to come up with at least a baseline of a public art plan. Does that seem like a
Yes.
good first step?
Seems like good objectives for the next 12 to 24
If we
months.
start with that, we gotta
We
plan.
don't have to pick out the specific one today.
No, I think we just want to come up with like the thing that we want to be done in the next 2 years.
Well, and also, I've heard a lot of feedback, mostly not all positive in this group about specifically murals. And encouraging them more murals in whether downtown, whether it's Main Street or Seventh Avenue. So I think, you know, from a standpoint, that would be, you know, if we want to prioritize what kind of public art we're talking about here, I think we've already been discussing murals quite a bit.
I think that's because we've been putting so many, I mean, public art, I mean, there in Chattanooga, there's a wonderful metal art display in their public park that they have right there in downtown. So I really feel like it doesn't have to be murals if we really concentrate it too on some other statuesque kind of things
Right.
that, you know, people are gonna stop and stare at those too and look at those, and they can even be done on a rotating basis too, from artists.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about
I know
different.
we've all talked about murals because that's what we've been focusing on is doing a lot more murals, but there is some other art to be added in this murals.
And so kind of as, let's just talk about specifically on this public art then as next steps then. Is looking at the arts folks in the room as far as, you know, would we want to have like Diane, Andrea, and Bill, or Phil, we might be extended to a few different things. Bill, what are you call Bill, or whoever, or whoever, as far as like a handful of y'all to kind of,
It shouldn't just be art galleries, so no offense.
I mean, whoever, but like two, 3, 4 people who are like you're the.
Well, we said
The initial-
where we would have a group identified that would be
Yeah.
working on that, yeah.
Yeah.
The art galleries also are in contact with the artists, so I think that is a way to find talent that can continue this.
But maybe like whoever they come back to here and say, this is what we kind of think are the first couple of steps we should take in that. And then a committee can, you know, provide any kind of feedback, and then we move next steps from there. Does that seem like a?
Well, and
Big
we're,
piece of
the
homework.
Art League is the only and Steve, we're the only nonprofit art organization, so we have.
Arts Council is also a nonprofit.
Right, but I mean, in the group here. Oh, and Michelle is the Arts Council. We are aware of grant opportunities that you folks might not be aware of, that really are more focused oftentimes on diversity and other issues, but on opportunities for artists to create, you know, public art projects. There's big demand for it everywhere, but we haven't approached any of those grants because we were not aware of any opportunities of where we could put that artwork. So I think, you know, it's a lot of the grant deadlines are approaching. I think there's another one September 1st for one that could be a public art project that we may just go forward to have something at our building. But I think having artists in the group that does the public art, we do have access to other funding.
By the way, she's a great grant writer.
Don't tell them.
She's a great.
Yeah.
So.
I guess where I was kind of going with, and I completely agree with you, is that I'm like, as far as a time sensitive standpoint, or taking advantage or tying in with projects that are happening or coming to a completion. I think this group, since we do meet on a monthly basis and we get a lot of voices, smart voices at the table, we could identify, okay, Seventh Avenue is gonna be unveiled at some point. If there's any projects that we can do, but even small projects within the district that tie in with that, give it more bang for the buck, I think that would be kind of like a priority kind of task, you know what I mean? Whether it's, I mean, to me, like having a metal sculpture on the plaza is like a no-brainer. You know what I mean? I mean, that would be awesome, you know, and obviously, you know, the streetscape design incorporates a lot of different elements, but there's also like, it's a lot of it is already being put into place. So whether it's a branded type of mural or something that ties in with the branding, that ties in with the new branding, I think that would be awesome that we could pull that off in the short term, you know?
And yeah, and so I would say kind of put into those buckets so there'd be a group that's looking at this more public art kind of policy type of things that comes back to this committee, and then the Seventh Avenue. Y'all, or whoever else, as far as what I think in that immediate term is, what do we want to get done before spring as far as an event or promotion or marketing for Seventh Avenue? And some ideas for that to come back for our next meeting to add to this plan.
Not that, I mean, one of the very first things that's gonna be is, as Diane said, is the Artscape program. I mean, if somebody from Seventh Avenue can give us the amount of polls that will be available to that, we can have that up as early as, you know, March, April, next year.
There are posters up on.
There were, yes, but now we have a whole new streetscape, so there's lots of more opportunities for that. And so that's more immediate than trying to get an art sculpture.
Do light poles too.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. So somebody needs, if she's getting application out in October.
on that, and I'll get the number for you for that.
And that'll be that'll be a very fast thing for April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can make one for next month and have, or in advance and have the number of polls for that.
So I think it's.
Next thing is a block party.
And I think it's important that we are discussing, you know, I mean, you know, I think the discussion about Seventh Avenue is appropriate because that's what's happening right now.
Yes.
But the idea of promoting public art within the Seventh Avenue district, I think is very smart looking down the road.
Oh,
Right now you have a food and beverage district, and I really see the next step in the Seventh Avenue district being an art district, 100%, you know, so.
That was the original intention.
Okay, so do we feel like we can have some of this committee thinking on that longer term public art policy approach, and then some of this committee thinking about the near term Seventh Avenue? And do we want to add in Akusta for this immediate time period, or do we want to just stick with those two things for this?
Okay, yeah. Once it's done.
December.
Yeah,
Well, that's pretty.
and there is a lot of parties that are involved in that. So I don't, like, there's stuff that we can add to it, but I'm not sure if there's as much for this committee currently on that, just because there's a lot of moving parts already involved.
So what
with
we would be working on would be how the Akusta ties in with downtown from a character standpoint,
Yeah,
right? So, but we don't know what that's gonna look like yet, you know, so maybe we do need some more time on that
yeah.
to kind of like.
One last question about Seventh Avenue. Are there electronic boxes that could be, can't you get them decorated with a wrap or something that focuses on what Seventh Avenue is? And that's a pretty quick way to add some art.
Detroit does that, so
Yeah.
does Chattanooga, they do all of
Or
the
paint
electrical
I
boxes.
think for stuff like that, we're just gonna have to, we're gonna see what it looks like and
Right.
then see
Right.
when it's done of what I don't think there's any of them. They're all in, yeah.
There's no box.
I'm pretty sure they're in. That would be something for Main Street for public. Yeah,
Oh, okay, never mind.
that would be something for the box.
For Main Street.
So do we want to have for this committee that? That is in the garage. Who wants to be focusing on Seventh Avenue, who wants to be focusing on public art, and then we will come together and see what merges.
Well, if that's the.
It'd be together.
Is to really think about Seventh Avenue, why don't we
join it.
On that and make that the area that we can focus on for public art.
You mean together as a whole?
Well, no, it's a small committee.
I was
Right,
gonna
I
say,
mean,
I
it's
think we've
everybody.
got enough members to split it.
Because you're asking to split it.
Public art.
Because the public art,
Also does go into Seventh Avenue.
yeah, but really the public art side of things, the main priority I feel like we need is a process for that, because that's where as soon as we come, if y'all come with a mural concept, which is on your building, that's fine, but if like public art locations, in that way, it's kind of like, if this is kind of happening together, then we can use the Seventh Avenue as the as the test run for whatever the public art side of things comes up with, if that makes sense.
And I think it's gonna have to be very clear about how the approval is done and it doesn't take a long time for people to, you know, make that decision because for us, especially some of these grants will be running out if we don't move forward.
Yeah, and it's not gonna be a clear thing until we get it figured out, and so that's kind of what would depend on some of the arts folks to give some good direction on that, and then this committee can kind of take that.
So-
Anybody else want to
So
be
are
on the
you-
public art?
But what all of us do, most of us do in this room, but are you looking for us to first write a policy and procedures as to what this community character, or do you want us to come with ideas of what we want?
I think that it's the policy side of it, that's what we need to start with.
I think that Karen Eve is already working on that, so we could.
Maybe take what she's,
And what she's putting together.
so maybe take that, and then y'all can kind of look through it, and then that can come back to this committee to then, eventually that would be something that would probably get presented to city council as like formal public art.
Want to put yourself in there?
Okay.
So I've got Karen, Andrea, Diane, Patsy, and myself, and Phil. I mean, that's 6 of us.
Diane? Oh, you did Diane.
Am I missing some? Andrea, Diane, Michelle, Patsy, Phil, did you say?
Karen,
Karen Eve,
yeah,
we're gonna rotate back and forth. between-
yeah.
So this group's next steps over the next several meetings would be to come with what your thoughts are, committee, providing kind of feedback on that, and so policy and type of next step.
So if you can later on get me the emails,
Yeah.
I'll try and
Well,
gather
you
a
jumping
time
into-
from just to put a meeting together. That's all, just to put a meeting together, not to be head of anything, just for us to get together and have a meeting.
So I would ask this, that on the public art side of things, if you guys would, have some emphasis on specific ideas for Seventh Avenue public art.
Right.
As a priority. As far as the Seventh Avenue, I would just suggest the stakeholders on Seventh Avenue be part of that group. So that would be
Yeah.
myself, Aaron, Phil, and Linda.
Yep.
Correct?
So you want on this committee, this other committee?
Huh?
No, just when it comes to Seventh Avenue.
Okay.
And if y'all have for the specific thoughts as far as public art and Seventh Avenue, don't not talk about that, have that as, because then that can be, if you have some, that can be a way to figure out some of this process simultaneously.
Jamie, as a quick sidebar, when we did the downtown economic positioning vision statement draft, we've added all this art conversation, but art and entertainment were not in what we had on that slide. So we're going back.
This one,
Yes.
I mean, cultural and community activities, you feel like we need to specifically add art and entertainment?
It wouldn't hurt, or at least some concept of that, just, we're driving art a lot and entertainment should be part of it too.
Okay.
So how would you propose, like, just putting the agenda for next meeting, having a slot for the public art micro team, if you will, proposing some ideas, specific ideas, because that's how we're gonna get stuff done, right? I mean, and the same thing with Seventh Avenue, that we would just have a allotment of time there.
Yeah, to report back and
With
then
any ideas that we had.
we have our next steps from there. Does that still like a good,
Well, our first meeting would be more on the policies and procedures that the community character team wants, correct?
your,
Arts, she's talking about.
yeah, for the public art.
Not specific project.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay, I just want to make.
Yeah, we gotta get
Right.
the, we gotta get it figured out, because otherwise we'll just keep going around and.
So Seventh Avenue team can start talking about specific projects. Right.
Yeah.
Like, what does a block party gonna look like?
Yeah, and.
A party.
Bartending.
And, Nancy or Kristen or Ryan, would y'all, and you don't have to say one thing or another, especially you, Ryan, is like brand new to all of it. Is there one side or the other that you'd have a particular interest in?
Probably Seventh Avenue.
Yeah, I think Nancy probably.
Me too. Also seventh.
That's Kristen.
I can speak more about the public art as a whole.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're stuck on one side or the other, but that way we've got everybody. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, by the end of this week, I will send out who's doing what and everybody's contact information. And what we talked about here. And so then everybody had each other's contact information. And so then kind of the homework for next time is bring back on what each of your individual groups has kind of figured out as next steps on that. Okay, does that feel good?
Yep.
Sure.
Warm and fuzzy.
I just don't ever know if I mean that or not. All right, are we good?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Maybe you do you have a place for
Um,
something? Where